Today, Mr. Padmanava Sen, Asha Central Committee member and dedicated volunteer. We are working so many years, right, Padmanava, with Mukti. He is visiting Mukti. So we thought we will be having a chat and the discussions go through our back and forth, whatever we have done for everyone understanding. So welcome, Padmanava. Welcome to Mukti.
Namaskar. My name is Padmanava and I'm really happy to sit with you, Sankar Halder. And we go a long way, but it will be really good if you can give us some, background of the collaboration that Asha for Education and Mukti are having. And at the same time, also, I know, but many of the Asha volunteers don't know that how long we go back, and then I'll be really happy if you can give some snippets of how it all started and how it all progressed. And I was part of most of it, but it will be good to know more about it.
Yeah, we have to do a timetable then. So it's a time passing very fast. As you know, Padmanava, I born and brought up in Sundarban, right? And 2003, I started something out of my pocket money. Some social work, yeah. And 2005 I was visiting America, and that time I got involved with Asha for Education as a volunteer. I came to know the Asha volunteers also likely minded people who are thinking about the societal development in India, taking education as a main tool. And also a few other organizations I started working. But it was great that I got an opportunity to mix volunteers, and that was kind of a official inception started for Mukti. And that's why in many time, as I said, that Mukti is kind of a incubator for Asha. It was 2005 when I was visiting. I came across especially for two of the Asha chapters. One in Asha Yale, where Hiten Javeri was there, and Ranitendranath Tagore. Both of them were research scholar or scientists of that time. And then I got to know them, and then they came across the Sundarban problem through me, and then they showed interest into it, and then the journey started. I still can remember that few of the projects which we started that time, the educational projects, that initially the Asha Yale started supporting, and when the budget got a little bit higher, then they engaged me with or the project engaged or introduced to Asha New York chapter. So that time New York chapter a little bit of strength wise was a little higher, and the Neil, Prashant, and that time it was Dilip Bhada was there. So it was a long story. So still I can remember that 2005 or 6, me and Ranitendranath Tagore both was visiting Sundarban, and we went through a survey, and we found that time the education rate is 20% in our delta. So we thought we'll take education as a tool, and then we'll start our societal development. And most of our projects till today is education is a very high focus, and we are doing. So that was the inceptions. And rest of the journey probably so how we are going for. If you have a specific question, then probably I can answer.
Yes, means usually so Asha for Education also has the main goal is to socio-economic change through education, right? And one of the challenge we face that we currently support, let's say, around 150 organizations, but it's difficult to find out which organization has the right mindset, and because everybody presents they are doing very good work for the underprivileged section of India, and India has a huge percentage of population who needs support beyond the government support or beyond their internal support system. But can you light a bit on that fact that why you actually founded a separate organization, and how you made sure this organization Mukti is sustainable or has a sustainable growth, you know?
Yeah, as I said, I was working for a company and visiting United States. So a organizational setup in ground, it was essential, right? From compliance point of view and from delivery point of view, because from a foreign organizations or institutions, if you want to get some money so you have to come across countries to countries law, and then very much many things you need to be compliant. So that was one of the requirement, and second requirement is that unless a organizational framework, then a structural delivery will not be possible. And I am in remote, right? So I was just that time struggling to confirm the livelihood for my own family and dedicating time for the society. So that was the inception story, and then I started with the people from my village, especially a couple of persons who joined hand with me, and they were taking care the societal change over here, and we are taking care of the conceptual part and the fundraising part. I still can remember that 2006, yes, maybe it's 2006, Ranitendranath Tagore took part of full marathon in New York, and we raised together around a significant amount of dollars, which was fully converted and transferred to Mukti. We started with our book bank and our coaching center program, the Mukti Support School, especially the improvement of education from 20% to make it higher, because that time we found in the survey that a large number of kids are joining in class 1, 2, but as their age are growing, then they are dropping out, especially at the adolescence segment. That time they are going into field with their parent for double earning. Otherwise, if they continue in school, it's a negative earning, right? Because the parent money also will come over here, and if you go to the field, then it's a double income for there. So that is there, and then also as the education level low, so there is a girl child also, the early marriage was an issue, right? And so that's why at the class 6, 7, 8, 9, and that particular time, a lot of girl childs getting married, early marriage, and then the male, the students, they are actually going to field with their parents. So that was the scenario, and we identified they are the first generation learners. So and the school education system was not that stable or matured. They have a lot of issues, infrastructural issues, quality of teaching, teachers and student ratios, and they are not getting help from their parents. Their parents are first generation learner, they are, right? So parents are not educated. So who will be helping them? So we started this, but from our inception, we decided that we will not start parallel to government. Whatever system government have, we will be trying to strengthen them. So you will come, even today, Padmanava, you will see that whatever we are doing, each project is actually strengthening the system. We are not starting any parallel program. So book material we started giving. So that because of, so that parent was not being able to buy their materials in right time, right? So we are supporting, and that time the education, this kind of digital material was not available, and today also not available, because textbook is a big market, so they cannot make it available digitally. So that's another thing, and in addition to the coaching, and also the employed youth, educated youth who are sitting idle at home, so they can get engaged also the job. So that was the starting point.
So I wanted to mention one thing, Shankar, like when I attended the call first time with you in 2009, it was a very difficult time because Ayla just happened, and it was a cyclone that devastated Sundarbans. But two things, of course, that changed my involvement in Asha quite a bit, because after that I joined the central team. So you had a big role to play in my involvement with Asha, in the sense that I was just a chapter volunteer, then I joined the central team because I felt the need of doing something in a bigger scale, right? So I can tell frankly that two things that impressed me a lot, okay? One is that your direct involvement, because you are from Sundarbans, you know you have faced the challenges, so when you are trying to solve the challenges, you actually are very involved, personally involved. Second thing that I like over last 13-14 years, while we are kind of design the like the solutions together, right, is that attitude from Mukti sides to kind of do the like modeling and also try to solve together with the other organizations, right? And these are the two things that impressed me a lot. One is that attitude of working together, and second is that knowledge that you have on the grassroots. Now, this is something we face quite a bit, this challenge we face quite a bit in Asha for Education, for example, that the volunteers are not from that underprivileged section, right? So it is sometimes difficult for us to understand the problem because we are not exposed to it, and many of times our parents protect us from that, right? So that's one. And second, sometimes it's difficult for us to be the change we wish to see, right, in that sense, because the challenges in India are sometimes in such massive scales, we feel lost and kind of leverage that to the, let's say, the grassroots organization and think that they know the best, let them do it, we just support financially. Like, what's your opinion about these 2 points? One is like kind of not being exposed to it. You cannot tell somebody go live in that village and try to fix the problem. And second, how do you kind of motivate yourselves to think that you can solve such a complicated problem?
Yeah, so I'd say it was easy for me because I been through the problem, and it is important to solve any problem. You need to understand the problem better, otherwise you cannot solve. So I can still figure out or can imagine what kind of challenges even the volunteers who are not from this kind of background, it's very difficult for them to visualize this. But to solve that, they need to visit, they need to be engaged, and engage also will help them to keep them motivated. It is not for themselves but also for the others. When even for this kind of volunteers, if they visit few of the projects in the ground, so ground people also get motivations, both way actually, and this knowledge actually percolate to them. But also I would give another one suggestion, which Mukti's approach, as you said, you liked it. So it's like, say, if we our approach, or we should have this approach that whoever is best in whatever area, they will be working in this area, and it's a joint team. It's not a organization. It's about Mukti and Asha, right? And it was possible for me from beginning, that because I was a volunteer of Asha, and I started Mukti. So it's mean I never segregated these two different organizations, and two organizations and making a grand writing, and then there is a reporting structure and this that. So our approach was, whatever we are trying our level best, whatever the problems are there is a problem, or whatever unsuccessful things are there, it is our joint responsibility. At the same time, whatever success we are getting also is a joint success. So that the volunteers are sitting in distance, they can also cherish the change or whatever we are doing in the ground, and they can also brainstorm the challenges which we are facing. Because many times what happens is, being inside the problem, sometimes you will be bogged up in such a way that your brain will not work towards the solutions. If you can come out of the problem and observe from a distance, some solutions may come up very easily. So that's why it is also required by the other volunteers also to engage and see from a fresh idea that how it can solve. And even as you said, the few of the privileged volunteer, maybe on that privileged section of the people who are being volunteer and the others, they have even have understanding or education or exposures of many countries, many societies, educationally, and also their experience while they are visiting, right? So the problem of each of the villages which like Sundarban are facing, that maybe the similar problem has been faced by any other areas of world, or maybe in other districts or other state in India, and they got a solution maybe 10 years before. So why to again reinvent wheel? So why not we are taking the best practice of that? So in the both way actually it benefits, that way I would say. So the bottom line is it should be a collaborative, and volunteer need to think that the Mukti or such Mukti, like Mukti, many other organization is there, is not that the organization, it's their activity, their projects. They should feel like they should own this. And when they are owning, mean they have to own the success and failures. And the same way, the organization in the grassroots level like Mukti also didn't understand that how painful to raise a single penny over there. Many people may think that earning donations in abroad is very easy, and funds normally flies if you go and catch something, right? It doesn't. Because being a volunteer in Asha, I know how hardship, how difficult to even raise a penny or a dollar, and then and then that money, if you have that kind of feelings, then only the volunteers who are in the ground are working, they will be very supportive, or before misusing the fund, they will also have a different perspective of not using or misusing that. So
I have a few more I would seek some more suggestions from you. One is that let's say many of us are in technical domain, right? And for our technical domain, we get training for technical things, right? So we are taught things in our universities, then we have to do our courses, but while solving a societal challenge, how can one get trained? Because there is no school or courses we took for solving societal problems. So, and this is a challenge for many of our volunteers who feel, either they feel they know everything, or they feel that they know nothing. So where is the balancing act?
Societal problem is the most critical problem in the whole, whatever problem we are facing even in industry, right? So because any industrial, business, technical problem, everything is trying to solve, actually end result is the societal problem they are trying to resolve. So, and this is a most complex and dynamics. So it's a space-wise, place-wise, time-wise, it's actually changing every time. Even in Sundarban, if we think about the challenges which we faced in 20 years before, and now the problem is different, right? So the project also has to be dynamics, and then people has to be. So I would say there is no such one solutions. People has to be agile, and the program solutions has to be evaluated time in every 2 to 3 years, whether it is rightly fitting or not. And that we did. If you can remember that we started book bank, right? And now we are coming out of book bank. And even the Mukti Support School, which you guys are supporting, that it went through many iterations, and now it's a different model altogether, almost. So the societal problem is changing, and so the model and the solution also will be changed. Only message to volunteer, I would say that there is nothing called right or wrong. It is important that you have enough empathy to engage, you are thinking about them, you are trying to do something. Many times you will see that it's wrong, but it's a perspective. Wrong or right is a perspective matters. It is important to be empathetic and get involved. That way I would see it. But challenges will be over there, and dynamic problem-wise solution also you have to be.
Thank you. And I mean, it's also very good to know that when like we started with 1 or 2 schools, 1 or 2 support school or coaching center, and now it has grown up to 100 coaching center or support school, and the way you design we design the model together, that it is scalable, right? But still the question always, like it is also sometimes challenges we face as volunteers. We think how much will be enough, right? Because every year, like let's say, I don't know, like maybe 10 million students are coming out, they are looking for jobs, 10 million students need additional support. But let's say at Mukti or at Asha for Education, our support will be limited, right? Limited not only by funding but our resources, our models. So how do you keep the motivation high? How do you say, okay, I will only work on this area and I will be happy when I take it forward and make sure that everybody in that area is 100% educated?
Well, the volunteers or you or me, we are not a country head. So always it is good to be worried about a scale of the problem and solutions. But I would say to concentrate in a smaller scale and to do activity. So I would say whatever based on our capacity, right? Everyone has a limitation on their capacity, but important thing is that we are doing. And that's important, but not necessarily that you have to think on that way. Say one good story, and we always say one knowledgeable person was standing in the morning in a beach, and he observed that one person was jogging in the morning in the beach and is coming out, and sometime he was just bending down, taking something from beach and throwing in the water and coming. So he has a curiosity. And then he was watching, and then when the person was approaching near to him, then he asked that, he observed that what he is doing. He found that there are small fishes, right? Starfish and other fish was getting stuck in the beach. This guy was bending down and taking the small fish and putting it in the water, and then the fishes was alive and going in the water. So these persons then asked, "Hey man, can you stop? I have a question to you." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Look, there is almost two-thirds place of the whole world is we have water. We have beaches and beaches of the whole world. And then every minute, every second, there are thousands, million and billion fish, and the animals are actually like that, dying. So what the big difference you are doing? Why are you doing this? It's a meaningless job, right?" So that guy said nothing. But in front of him, another one fish was there, starfish. He just put it into water, and he was very happy, the starfish. He made like that tremble and then went into the water. He said, "Ask that fish what I have done for it." So for that fish, it was a life and death. So whatever changes you are doing, that can be evaluated by the beneficiaries who are, even it is a smaller scale. Thinking or being a wise person, you may think it's a meaningless job. But you have done something for the fish, which has a life and death, he or she will understand what the big difference you have made, right? So I would say the volunteers should concentrate, even they can make one life changed or different. That should be. Why they will be thinking about the macro views? If the capacity comes in once upon a time in his life, like a policy makers, big country head or something, then he will think about all these things. We are a little persons, we are thinking about small piece and changing, right?
Thank you, Shankar. It's really nice talking to you today, and also looking forward to years of collaboration.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And I would request Asha volunteers to visit Mukti more and more. And you also visit Padmanava. You encourage us a lot. And our volunteers also in the ground, they get a lot of encouragement. They keep on asking that when the Asha people are visiting us. And today, whatever there is, the Mukti is such a big organization. It started with Asha funding, and still Asha is actually helping us in many ways. So it's a really great journey together. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.